And immediately was clear for me this is the biggest comeback story in World War II.
Pearl Harbor is the greatest intelligence failure in American history. This can never happen again.
Have you always been interested in World War II?
Well, as a kid, I remember all these war movies that were then shown on German TV. Super fascinating, and so I saw a lot of the original movies of the 50s, 60s, and 70s as a kid and then as a young man. So I was always fascinated by it. I'm more a history buff. I'm interested in sometimes not so much what happened exactly in the battle. I'm more interested what are the cause of the war, the political machinations. So that's more my interest, and history in general.
Yeah.
I love history.
The Japanese are planning something bigger.
So what's the target?
We believe it's Midway.
Washington disagrees.
Washington is wrong.
What is so interesting about the Battle of Midway to you?
I think when I saw a documentary like more or less 20 years ago, and immediately was clear for me this is the biggest comeback story in World War II, because it was important for me to show like the 6 months leading up to the battle, because without the attack on Pearl Harbor you will not understand it. And basically the Americans didn't want to get into the war, but then had to, and they were not prepared for it, and their equipment was not as good. I had done like some research for Anonymous, but also for Stonewall and the Patriot. But this time I wanted to really kind of not invent too much. So I kind of said to the writer, I said, Wes, let's not invent too much. Let's try to have only existing characters and figure out with like things which really happened and tell the story of these 6 months. But also on the set we had always historians and military people helping us to do this movie as accurate as possible.
If we lose, the Japanese own the West Coast. Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles will burn.
Why do you think it's still relevant to make movies about this war?
I'm always like saying, you know, sometimes look, go around and ask young people, you know, and they have no idea, and I don't think they're even interested. But like when you see the rise of nationalism and the rise of right-wing parties, and then you like kind of, you know, remind people there are these like kind of young, you know, like kids in a way. I mean, some were as young as 17, fought, you know, for freedom and democracy, and a lot of them lost their life. I think we should constantly remind everybody about that this happened, because I have the feeling if this gets forgotten, then there very, very fast could be another conflict where the people like kind of all of a sudden, you know. And when you like look at wars today, you don't know what they're fighting for. At that time it was at least, you know, you were like clear, these were the Nazis, we are the Democrats, we have to beat the Nazis because we want to live in freedom and democracy.
We're talking about a couple dozen planes against a whole Japanese fleet. This isn't a fair fight.
Superhero movies are very popular these years.
Mm-hmm.
Is this actually a movie about real-life superheroes?
Well, in a way it is, you know, because they were like normal, regular people, and some of them were incredible courageous, and some were not so courageous, which is also important to show. And I'm always like kind of try to make movies about real people, if it's like an invented story or it's like a historical battle movie like Midway.
What is the biggest difference working with a spaceship and a Navy ship?
Well, it's like a spaceship everybody knows doesn't exist. So when the visual effects are not that good, it's fine. But when you want to kind of sell people that this is a piece of history and this has really happened, a visual effect shot has to be absolutely perfect.
So it's the realism that's very
It's the
important.
realism. You say always photo real. Don't forget also all the water, everything is digital. So it's enormous undertaking. You want to recreate images of reality. I mean, that was just the reality. We looked at a lot of documentary footage. I mean, the Americans did quite a lot of. They documented everything what they did because they used it for schooling people, and they also wanted to know which ships they had destroyed. So there's a lot of images out there, and especially, you know, these 5 minutes where they destroyed 3 aircraft carriers in 5 minutes. There's incredible footage in the wings of these planes, because they pretty much like from the moment they were like diving, recorded that, and we looked at this very carefully and then tried to emulate it, to make it look exactly like it must have looked.
It's a big movie, as I said. It's a very
Yeah, and it was supposed to be a big movie, because I'm like always trying to find subject matters which like fill the screen and where like kind of you have the feeling I have to see this in a cinema.
Yeah, so you go always for the epic scale.
Yep.